Hello, today is Wednesday, April 1, and as we continue reading about Jesus' ministry together, we're going to read from Matthew chapter 17, verses 1 through 13. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah, talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my Son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The disciples asked him, "Why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first?" Jesus replied, "To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but have done to him everything they wanted. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands." Then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist. If you'd like, you can pause the video here, take some time to reflect on the reading yourself. Now, as I read this passage, one of the things that stood out to me was the voice of God speaking to the disciples. First, God confirms what the disciples themselves have been thinking, that Jesus is God's Son, that Jesus is the Messiah, the Savior that God has sent. But in a way, God also confirms what Jesus has been saying. Jesus has been talking about how he has to suffer and die to carry out his work. And when God tells the disciples to listen to Jesus, he means that they should believe him when Jesus says that he's going to suffer. And he also means, of course, that we should listen to what Jesus says and do it when he shows us how we should live. So that's my thought for today. If you have thoughts, comments, questions, please share them in the comments below. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow.